أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما يا بقية الله في الأرضين سيدنا ومولانا شفيع ذنوبنا مهدي هذه الأمة وطاووس أهل الجنة الحجة ابن الحسن المهدي المنتظر عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. For the hastening of the reappearance of the Imam of our time, please recite a very loud salawat. Dear brothers and sisters, I would like to start off once again by extending to you my deepest condolences. During these days, every single day, we commemorate the loss of the companions, of the siblings, of the nephews of Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi ta'ala alayhi and himself. And we strive as mu'mineen to learn from his teachings, from his ethics and morals. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us and assist us in this mission, because learning from Ahlul Bayt, right? Kalamukum nur wa amrukum rujd. Your words and teachings are guidance for the mu'mineen. Brothers and sisters, when we read the maqtal and when we look at history and narrations, we see, and this is something which me personally I've noticed, that the women of Karbala are really oppressed. Right? How so? They're not mentioned, and their missions and the accomplishments are not mentioned. If you read the maqtal, every single maqtal, and the narrations, it's not mentioned. Right? And if you also read the narrations and history, they mention that in the caravan of Imam al-Hussein, there was approximately 80 of the women who were not from the family of the Imam, and say some no, with the family of the Imam, they're 80. Right? Now those that scrutinize, go deeply into history, right, would notice that the women of Karbala, those that were alongside the Imam, had done some things that men at that time weren't able to do. Were weak either by the heart or physically to accomplish these things. And so inshallah ta'ala, today, like I'll mention 2 or 3 of the things that the women who were not from the tribe of Banu Hashim, they were like women like our women, right? Not from the Ahlul Bayt, wherein they strived and they established things that really changed history, number 1. And 2, that would act as a role model for our women, right? Because just like at that point of time there were challenges, today we have challenges, right? And we need such resilience when pondering these things. If we read the narrations, there's a narration that Shaykh al-Saduq and also Shaykh al-Mufid mentioned in their books, where Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam gathered his companions on the eve of Ashura at night, right? And he said, "O companions, I have one favor." They told them, "Ask, Sayyidi." He told them, "I want you to send your women to the tribe of Banu Asad or to their family. Send them to their family. Don't keep them on the battlefield." One of the companions of the Imam, who was well respected, right, and noble, his name is Ali ibn Mudahir. He told the Imam why. He stood up and told the Imam, "Why should we send them?" The Imam told him, "Because tomorrow is the day where I would be killed and my women would be taken captives to Kufa and then to Sham." Jazakallah khair. So send your women. Look at this. Ali ibn Mudahir went to his wife, who was also in the caravan. When he entered, based on the narration, his wife stood up and smiled and welcomed. She was a really respected woman. Now, by the way, history does not mention her name. But history mentions what she did, like her legacy, right? So she told him, she said, "Yabna Mudahir, oh Ali ibn Mudahir, I heard the grandson of the Prophet say a few words which I didn't understand. I was far from you. He uttered something, right? And then you stood up and asked him a question. What did he say?" He said, he responded to his wife by saying, "The Imam asked us to send our wives to the tribe of Bani Asad so that should something happen, you guys are on the safe side, right? No harm will reach you." So she told him, "And then what did you say?" He responded, "Okay, that's my plan. I'm going to send you." Narrations say without doubt, without hesitation, she stood up and she banged her forehead on the pole of her tent. And she told him, "Oh Ali, are you okay seeing the family, the household, the women of Imam al-Hussein and the Prophet taken captives while I sit in peace? Are you okay with Lady Zainab, who her shadow was not even seen prior to Karbala, for her to be whipped by the like of Shimr, and for me to be in peace? By Allah, I would not leave the caravan of Imam al-Hussein. And I want to share the same destiny as the women and the children of Imam al-Hussein." Ali ibn Mudahir didn't respond to her, right? Which is a form of acceptance, right? He was happy. And he went back to the Imam and told him the exact same thing that took place. Narration said, and this is something that doesn't happen often. If you read history, it's something that doesn't happen always. Narration said Imam al-Hussein cried. He shed tears. This is a lesson, dear sisters. We're not the only ones that shed tears for the Imam. Rather, the Imam also sheds tears on us. The Imam shed tears because he saw the level of nobility and that rank. This is a woman. This is a woman. Her stance, despite the fact that historians did not mention her name, they mentioned that effect, that rank. They mentioned the tier of the Imam for her. That's enough. Sometimes someone can come and define us by the name, and sometimes, other times, someone can define us by the attributes. And to be defined by the attributes is far greater than to be defined by the name. Now here's a question that some ask. Why didn't history mention that to us? A few reasons. A, this can be done on purpose, deliberately. Historians, such an effective story, they want to hide it. And that's why it's not there in the Maqtal and all that. Why? Because a lot of men would feel shameful. A lot of men left Imam al-Hussein who were with him. They left him. And such a woman said, whatever would happen can happen. My position is clear. So long as Imam al-Hussein taken this path, I'm with him. This is a woman. And by the Islamic law, it's not mandatory upon her to do that or say that. The only thing mandatory is for her to listen to her husband. Go home, that's it. Back then, it's not mandatory for her to pick up the sword and fight. But the likes of this woman hold a rank much greater. So her conduct must be compatible with that rank. And this takes us back to the topic we pondered on the first, second, third, fourth night. The rank and spirituality and ascending spiritually. This is one example of a woman, a true woman, a brave woman, which to me is a role model. To me personally. I shall learn from this woman. The second example, and this is a major one. We spoke yesterday about Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi salam. After his head was severed, his body was thrown from the rooftop of the governor's palace. And his body and the body of Hani ibn Urwa were dragged behind the horses, tied to the horses, to the tail of the horse, and they dragged them across the alleys of the city of Kufa. And narrations say they didn't bury it. They didn't bury the bodies. Who did? Anyone knows? Does anyone have an idea who buried the bodies of Muslim ibn Aqil and Hani? The majority of the people don't know. But if you delve into history, it's a woman. It's a woman. A woman did what men weren't able to do. I repeat, and that's why I say at the beginning of my lecture, I said women are really oppressed. The brave women of Karbala are really oppressed because what they contributed, what they did, only a person that's godly or supported by the divine can do, with all honesty. The two women that buried the body of Hani and Muslim, it was the wife of Maytham al-Tammar, and the second, her name is mentioned, is the wife of Hani ibn Urwa. Her name is Ruwayha. Now at that time, the city of Kufa is filled with spies. Those that work undercover day and night to catch those that love Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Hussein, Imam al-Hassan, right? Technically, the Shias, right? So the wife of Maytham al-Tarrar waited after midnight, right? Just imagine people sleeping in their homes and the bodies of Muslim and Aqil, Muslim and Han are piled up in the middle of the city of Kufa, just like that, with blood on them. The corpse of Muslim is left on the ground. The wife of Maytham al-Tammar, after midnight, she left, right? And there is a very high risk here, right? Which means this woman is a really brave and a resilient woman, because she knows that if they get a hold of her and they see her, that's it. They will kill her for sure, without a doubt, especially since she is the wife of Maytham al-Tammar, who was also killed in the worst of manners. She left, and narrations say she, as well as the wife of Hana. Now, based on what some of the scholars say, there might be some men from their household that did help them, but in history it's not mentioned, right? How we came to this conclusion is because a woman or two cannot lift the body of the likes of Muslim, right, or Hana. It's really hard and challenging. So it would only make sense that there were some men that did help them, right? But the end result is that it was their idea, they led it, they did it. They left. Some narrations say they brought the body of Muslim and Hana first to her home, to the home of the wife of Maytham al-Tammar, and then waited, washed their bodies, and then took the bodies and buried the bodies without anyone knowing. Who was that? This was a woman. And from here, I send a message to my brothers and sisters. A woman is a home. You can have a house, but the woman is what makes it a home. Whether a mom, whether a sister, or a wife. That's the only person that can. A father doesn't make a home, but the father acts like the pole in the middle that lifts that home. But that home is the mother. It's the sister. It's the wife. And thus, being grateful to your mother is really important. Those mothers out there that can hear me, if you raise your daughter in such a manner to be this brave and resilient, you would have contributed in your support to Imam al-Hussein without you knowing, with you knowing or not. Either ways, you've supported Imam al-Hussein, because the whole idea is every single era we live in as Shias, there's a challenge. Today we have challenges. A lot of these challenges would be solved if there's a woman that can really lead and form a home that's filled with iman and taqwa and piety. And that's why I tell my brothers and sisters, when you want to marry a woman, use such a criteria when you're choosing. Don't base everything on looks, on the perfume, right? On what you see from the outside, rather from the inside as well. The outside is really important as well. I don't say no. But the inside, if not equally, then it's more important. Why? Because the looks, day after day, they fade. Whether for us men or women. They go. Time, skin, right? Your skin today is not the same as your skin in 10, 15, 20 years. We grow. right? And so when you, dear brothers, want to choose a woman, don't look at it as one person, rather you're choosing a home. When you want to buy a house, what do? You check how many rooms, right? You check for what? The place of the property, right? The neighborhood, the area, a few factors. When you want to choose a woman, you have to do more work. And that's why the hadith says, تَخَيَّرُوا لِنُطَفِكُمْ, not اختاروا, not choose a woman. Scrutinize. Go into depth. Her name has an effect on her and her personality. Her name. Her father. Who's the father? Who's the mother? Their background. Right? Where was she raised? In which environment? Her degree. Everything contributes in the formation of that personality. So when you choose a woman, don't also look at her and the children she will get you. Look at it as a business, meaning that this is something where you will be going into where you shouldn't expect any loss. That's what I mean by business. It's not a game, it's a real life. When I say business, I mean you will go into something where it's really, really serious. The child which you would have and raise is a responsibility upon you. Right? And the same thing I said to my brothers, I would multiply that by 10 for our sisters. Because the man that you choose, right? The person that would hold the home resilient and keep the home well composed is the man that you should be choosing, not any person. It's not a matter of going into like school and university and seeing a person, oh, this person is nice, this person looks nice, okay, let's proceed. No, it's a matter of what happens after, what happens next, right? So we must, as mu'mineen, put the criteria first and then build upon that. Put the standards first. The standards are a woman as a true woman and a man as a true man. And thus choose a person. And that's why we see a lot of those that want to get married, whether men or women, a lot of the time it doesn't go well for them, right? Because the standards and the criteria and what they define everything on isn't the right thing. So that's the second example. The third example, and I will use that to conclude. We've all heard of Wahab. Wahab, who was Christian. Now, if you go to the narrations, there's two Wahabs, not one, there's two. There's Wahab ibn Wahab, and there's Wahab al-Kalbi. They're both Christians, both newlyweds, right? And they both died for the sake of Imam al-Hussein. This is a story. Some say this is Wahab ibn Wahab. Some say no, this is Wahab al-Kalbi. But either ways, the idea was that Wahab, Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi ta'ala alayhi, was on his way to Kufa. Okay, he stopped by a village. And he stopped by next to the door and the house of Wahab, right? Now, that area, every single day in the morning, Wahab wakes up, goes to a different place, gets water, food, and comes back, right? So, the time that Imam al-Hussein stopped by that village, Wahab was not there, his mother was there. Imam al-Hussein called his mother. She came out and said, yes, what do you want? He said, I'm looking for Wahab. She told him, Wahab is not here. He told her, okay, when he comes back, just tell him these few words. What are these words? He told her, tell him that the dream is true. What does that mean? No one knows. It's a secret between Imam and Wahab. And he went. He continued on his path. Wahab came back with water, right? And he stopped and he saw that his mom is weird, shocked, right? He told her, Mom, what happened? She told him, sit down. He sat down and she explained to him what happened. That a man, right, he looks pious, looks noble, passed by and said these words. The moment he said that, narrations say Wahab cried loudly. His mother told him, explain to me, what's happening? He responded, O mother, last night I saw a dream. And I saw Jesus in my dream, and next to him a few men standing. And Jesus directed me and said, are you one of my lovers? I told him, yes. He responded and said, this man right next to me is Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And the person right next to him is the commander of the faithful, Imam Ali alayhi salam. And the person right next to him is Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam al-Hussein, the master of all martyrs. Go for his aid and rescue, O Wahab. He said, I woke up confused, not knowing what's happening. Right? So he ran to the path that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam took. And he came back smiling and happy. His mother said, what happened? He said, I just became a Muslim because Wahab is a Christian. Right? He came back saying, Mom, I just became a Muslim and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam promised me Jannah. Now, his wife, based on history, had no parents, no siblings, no one in that region. It was only her, right? And she was married 17 days before Karbala. Newlyweds. So her honeymoon took place where? Her honeymoon took place in the events of Karbala and on the plains of Karbala. Now, when the mother of Wahab heard, right, she told him, O son, go fight for the sake of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. His wife at first said no. Said, Wahab, we're newlyweds, don't leave me alone. I don't have no cousins, no parents, no siblings. You can't leave me alone. His mother said, son, don't listen to your wife. Go, this is heavens, that's it. Go, and don't go and fight for him, go die for him. I don't want you to fight and come back, go die for his sake. So she wanted him to fight and die until she satisfied the mother, right? His wife told him, okay, Wahab, I don't mind. I'll let you go, but promise me two things. And promise me those two things in the presence of the Imam. I want the Imam to be there when you give me these two promises. He took her to the Imam. She told Imam al-Hussein, O Aba Abdullah, I don't mind Wahab going into the battle with you, but I want him to give me two promises. He said, what are these promises? She said the first promise is that when Wahab will be a martyr, I won't have any family. I won't have any siblings or parents. I will be a widow. So please accept me amongst your household. I want to be a widow and I want to sit next to Zainab alayhi salam. He said, your wish has been granted. What is the second one? She said, promise me. I want Wahab to promise me that I will be his partner and his wife in the heavens, in the hereafter. Whatever he wasn't able to give me in this life, I want it in the hereafter. The Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam said, this shall be granted for you. But what really pains the brothers and sisters is Al-Imam alayhi salam, and it really pains because when Wahab went into the battlefield, he fought like a true warrior. Both his arms were cut, were severed. And he came back, where? He came back to the tents, right? When he came back to the tents, he screamed and yelled, "Oh mother, do you see me? Is this enough?" She said, "No, Wahab, go back to the battlefield. I want you to die for the sake of Aba Abdullah." During these moments, the wife of Wahab took the pole of her tent and headed to the battlefield, wanting to aid Aba Abdullah. Wahab stood and said, "Oh my wife, a few moments ago you were saying don't go, I need you by my side, but now you yourself are going to the battlefield. What's happening?" She said, "Oh Wahab, don't blame me, but the cries of Aba Abdullah teared my heart apart." Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam on the eve of Ashura sat with his companions and told them, "إن هذا الليل قد غشيكم فاتخذوه جملا." This night has befallen upon you, then take advantage of it and depart. These people only want me, they don't want you guys. The likes of Muslim ibn Awsaja, what did he respond? He stood up and said, "Oh Aba Abdullah, if they kill me, then burn me, then blow my ashes and repeat that 1,000 times, I wouldn't think of leaving you." Another narration dictates that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was seen in the midnight around the tents picking up the thrones from the grounds, as he knows the next day the tents would be attacked and his children would leave the tents. He doesn't want them to be heard, so he was picking up the thrones from the ground. Aba Abdullah. And then while he was doing that, he saw someone behind him. Who was it? It was Nafi' ibn Hilal, one of his companions. Imam al-Hussein looked at him and said, "Oh Nafi', do you see this shadow, this darkness?" He said, "Yes, my master." He said, "Take advantage of it and escape." What did Nafi' respond? He said, "أكلتني السباع حيا إن أنا تركتك يا أبا عبد الله." May the wild animals in the deserts eat my flesh and body alive if I were to leave you, Ya Hussein. Now during this day, companions one after the other started fighting like true warriors, brave warriors. Muslim and Habib and Hur, who Imam said, "Anta hurrun kama sammatka ummuk." You're truly a free person, just like your mother named you. After this battle, after Habib, after Muslim, after her, after all the companions dropped one after the other, Imam al-Hussein looked right and looked left. What did he say? He said, "Ya abtal al-Safa ويا فرسان الهيجا ما ليناديكم فلا تجيبون." Oh true warriors and brave warriors of this battlefield, I'm calling upon you, why aren't you responding? And how can they respond when their heads were separated from their body? How can they respond when their faces are resting on the plains of Karbala? Oh Aba Abdullah. Women after that saw Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in a different position, in a different state. They saw him heartbroken. overtaken by sorrow and grief, outside kneeling on the pole of his tent and saying, wa ghurbata wa qillata nasirah, ala hal min mu'inin yu'inuna, ala hal min muwahhidin يخاف الله فينا. How few are my supporters. At this moment, a young child at the age of 14, 15, some narrations dictate his name was Amr ibn Junada. He approached the Imam with his sword, dragging his sword behind him. He said, Hussein, give me permission to attend the battlefield. Imam al-Hussein called upon the woman and said, his father was just killed, take him back to the women. His mother doesn't want to see him martyred. He said, oh Uncle Hussein, my mother was the one that sent me to the battlefield. He headed toward the battlefield and uttered these words, dear brothers and sisters, which we should all utter and dictate in our grave after we pass away. For Allah would give us intercession for these words, the intercession of Sayyidus Shuhada. When he headed to the battlefield, he uttered these words. Let's say them together, dear brothers and sisters. He said, Amiri Hussein wa ni'mal amir. Amiri Hussein wa ni'mal amir. Surur fu'ad